Hi there, sleepy toes. Tonight's story is about a staircase made not of wood or stone, but of marshmallows, and it only appears when you are truly ready for bed. In a small, peaceful village where dreams floated like dandelion seeds, there was a legend whispered among children. When your body grows still and your eyes get heavy, a staircase made of marshmallows will appear just for you. No one had seen it during the day. It only appeared at night, and only for those who were ready to sleep. One such night, a little girl named Lenny yawned a very big yawn. She had brushed her teeth, put on her coziest pajamas, and cuddled up with her pillow. But before her eyes closed, she noticed something odd in the corner of her room. A soft step, then another, then more. Each one was fluffy, white, and slightly glowing. They stacked gently upward, reaching into the air like a soft, glowing ladder of clouds. Lenny slipped out of bed and gently placed one foot on the first step. It didn't squish too much, just enough to feel cozy. With every step she climbed, the world grew quieter. She heard whispers of lullabies in the air. She felt her body grow lighter, not sleepy tired, just floaty. The marshmallow steps led her past a window where owls blinked slowly, past trees with closed eyes, past clouds that sighed. When she reached the very top, there wasn't a door, there wasn't a room, just a big soft bed waiting in the stars. Lenny climbed into it and sank deep, deeper, until she felt weightless. The stars above blinked kindly. The air hummed like a hug. A soft voice whispered, "You've climbed the marshmallow steps. Now, rest." Lenny smiled, closed her eyes, and drifted into the gentlest dream. And when morning came, she woke up in her own bed, warm, rested, and full of wonder. Maybe tonight, if you're very still and very ready, you'll see your first marshmallow step appear. Close your eyes now. They only come when you're ready. Good night. Hello, quiet sailor. Tonight's story is about a tiny boat that didn't float on water, but waited patiently by your bed, ready to carry you across the seas of dreams. Every night, when the lights were turned off and the house became still, a little wooden boat sat quietly by the side of the bed. It was no bigger than a shoe, but it wasn't just a toy. It was the dream boat, made of gentle wood with a sail stitched from soft pillow thread. It waited, not for wind, not for waves, but for one thing only, for a child to close their eyes. You see, this boat didn't sail oceans, it sailed dreams. Each time a sleepy head sank into the pillow, the dream boat would gently rise, growing just big enough for a sleepy passenger to climb aboard without ever waking up. The boat always knew where to go. Some nights, It sailed through a sea of stars where whales swam slowly through stardust. Other nights, it followed a river of silver light that wound through floating islands made of clouds. It passed glowing jellyfish that whispered good night. It drifted near floating lanterns that hummed lullabies. It never rocked too much. It never lost its way. The dreamboat listened to the dreams and guided them gently, away from worries, away from noise, straight into the calm. And when the sun began to peek over the edge of morning, the boat would float silently back, shrinking, softening, curling back into the space beside the bed, waiting for the next night, the next dreamer, the next quiet journey. Tonight, as you lay still, listen for the soft creak of a tiny wooden sail. The dreamboat is ready. Close your eyes. Your journey awaits. Good night. Hello again, sleepy friend. Tonight's story is about a pair of tiny shoes that didn't move during the day, but danced, skipped, and wandered far once dreams began. In a quiet corner of a little room sat a pair of soft shoes. They were not shiny. They weren't new. They had no laces, no lights, no squeaks. But they had something special inside them. Dream steps. You see, these shoes had been worn by many children before, and every time they carried a child through dreams, they remembered. They remembered puddles made of stars, clouds that bounced, and playgrounds built in the sky. Now they belonged to a girl named Mira. Each morning, Mira would slip them on and shuffle around the house. They didn't go fast. They didn't make much noise. They were just shoes. But at night, once Mira climbed into bed, closed her eyes, and drifted off, the shoes woke up. Very quietly, they wiggled their soles, stretched their tiny tongues, and tiptoed to the edge of the bed. And then they lifted into the air, one step, then two, and waited for Mira's dream to begin. In her dream, Mira would find herself walking through gardens that glowed in the dark, where butterflies wore pajamas and trees told bedtime jokes. The shoes always knew where to go. Sometimes they led her over dream bridges that swayed gently over lullaby rivers. Sometimes they took her across soft sand that hummed with sleepy melodies. Sometimes they just walked beside her, step by step, while the stars above blinked in rhythm. Mira never tripped, never got lost, because the shoes remembered every dream they had ever visited. And when the dream was done, and morning light kissed the sky, the shoes quietly returned to the corner, still, soft, silent, waiting for the next adventure. So tonight, if your shoes are resting by your bed, thank them gently. They just might be waiting for your dream to begin. Good night. Hello, little one. Tonight's story is about a single yawn, so gentle, so quiet, that it floated through the sky and helped the whole world fall asleep. In a quiet cottage near the edge of a sleepy forest, a girl named Mila let out a long, slow yawn. She had brushed her teeth, hugged her favorite stuffed bear, and climbed under her blanket. Then, with her eyes half closed, she yawned. So the softest, sleepiest yawn you've ever heard. But this was no ordinary yawn. This yawn was made of calm. It was light as a feather and warm as cocoa. It slipped out of Mila's mouth and drifted up and out through the window into the starry sky. The yawn floated gently, like a bubble made of dreams. First, it passed a barn where baby animals were rustling in the hay. As the yawn floated by, the lambs and calves blinked slowly and lay down to sleep. Then the yawn passed over a playground where the wind was still swinging one lonely swing. The swing slowed, then stopped. The whole park took a breath. The yawn kept going. It floated across cities and rooftops, over forests and fields. Wherever it went, lights dimmed, voices softened, and sleepy eyes blinked just one last time before closing. Far away, in a treehouse on a mountain, a boy looked up at the sky. He felt the yawn pass over him, like a warm breeze that whispered, "Shh." He yawned back, then snuggled into his sleeping bag and drifted off. Even the moon, watching from above, blinked a little slower. The stars twinkled gently, like they were sighing with relief. The yawn traveled all night, touching every corner of the world. And when it finally floated back to Mila's window, it curled into a small, invisible loop and wrapped around her head like a lullaby scarf. She smiled in her sleep, never knowing that her tiny yawn had tucked the whole world in. So tonight, if you feel a yawn coming on, don't hold it back. Let it float. You never know who it might help sleep next. Good night.
Hello again, gentle dreamer.
Tonight's story is about a special rocking chair. One that didn't just sway back and forth, but lifted off the ground when the world got very quiet. In a quiet house, in a quiet room, sat an old wooden rocking chair. It was smooth from years of use, with arms worn down by gentle hands and a cushion that sighed softly when someone sat down. Everyone in the family loved the chair, but no one knew its secret. Except Grandma. Each evening, after the sun set and the windows turned dark, Grandma would sit in a chair with a warm blanket and a little one in her arms. She would rock slowly, back and forth, back and forth. And just when the child's eyes began to close, the chair would lift just a little, just enough for the floor to disappear beneath it. The room would stay the same, lamp glowing, clock ticking softly, air warm and still. But the chair floated silently, carrying its sleepy passengers into the sky of dreams. They never noticed when it happened, but as the stars blinked above, the chair would drift past rooftops with yawning cats, above clouds shaped like storybook creatures, beside owls that waved with one sleepy wing. Sometimes it floated through entire dream cities, where buildings whispered lullabies and the streets were made of quiet light. The child never woke. The blanket never slipped. Grandma just kept rocking, back and forth,
back and forth. And when it was time, the chair would gently float back down, landing with a soft shh on the wooden floor. No bumps, no noise, just peace. By morning, the chair looked as it always had, still, worn, waiting. But Grandma knew. The child knew too, deep down. That rocking chair wasn't just furniture. It was a dream ship with wooden arms and a heart full of quiet. Tonight, if you hear a creaking in the night, maybe a chair is rocking, just enough to carry someone into a dream. Sleep tight, little one. Good night.
Hello, tiny traveler. Tonight's story is about a pair of magical mittens, not for keeping warm from the cold, but for catching beams of moonlight and turning them into dreams. In a quiet town where the rooftops sparkled with frost and stars, lived a boy named Arlo. One chilly evening, as he got ready for bed, his grandmother handed him a pair of mittens. They were silver and soft, almost glowing under the lamplight. "These," she said with a wink, "are moonlight mittens. Only wear them when you're ready to dream." Arlo smiled, but didn't quite understand. That night, as the moon rose full and bright, he slipped the mittens on. They felt cool at first, like snow that didn't melt, and then suddenly, warm! The tips of his fingers tingled. He held his hands up toward the window, where the moonlight poured in like gentle silver rain. And when the light touched the mittens, something wonderful happened. It stuck! The moonlight clung to the mittens like threads of glowing yarn, wrapping around his fingers, sparkling and soft. Arlo closed his eyes and began to float. Not in his body, but in his dreams. With the mittens guiding him, he glided across glowing fields of night flowers that bloomed in silence. He climbed silver ladders that reached up into the stars. He waved to owls that carried soft lanterns, and high above him, moon whales swam through the sky, their tails leaving trails of lullaby dust. The mittens never let go. They kept him warm, they lit his way. They turned every quiet corner of the dream world into something safe and full of wonder. By morning, Arlo woke up smiling. The mittens lay folded beside his pillow, no longer glowing, but somehow still special. From that day on, each night when the moon appeared, Arlo reached for his moonlight mittens and let them carry him gently into sleep. Tonight, if the moonlight touches your room, pretend you have mittens made of silver and stars. Let them guide you into the softest dreams. Good night. Hi there, little one. Are your hands still and your eyes getting soft? It's the perfect time for a quiet story about a crayon that only came to life when the world was fast asleep. In a small wooden box, tucked inside a quiet drawer, lived a set of crayons. They were bright, colorful, and loved to be used during the day. But there was one crayon, a little blue one, that never got picked. During art time, the red and yellow made suns, the green made trees, the pink made hearts. But the little blue crayon waited quietly, hoping just once to be chosen. He wasn't jealous, just patient. But something magical happened every night. Once the house went quiet and the lights were off, that's when the drawer slowly opened and the blue crayon rolled out on his own. The moonlight shone through the window and the crayon began to draw. Not pictures of flowers or houses. He drew dreams. He slid across pages and walls, drawing winding staircases through the stars, boats made of pillows, and clouds shaped like lions that purred. He didn't need a hand to hold him. The night itself guided his movement. Every drawing faded before morning, as if it had never been there. But one night, a little boy named Jonah woke up early and saw a trail of glowing blue across the floor. Curing. He followed it, eyes wide and sleepy, until he found the crayon, still humming softly with magic. The crayon stopped moving, as if shy. Jonah picked it up, held it gently, and whispered, "Thank you." From then on, every night, Jonah left a blank sheet of paper by the window and whispered before bed, "Draw me something beautiful." And the crayon always did. So if you ever find a tiny mark you don't remember making, or a dream that feels like it was drawn, maybe it was the blue crayon, leaving you a gift in the quiet of night. Good night, little artist.
Hi there, little one. Tonight's story is about a quiet pair of slippers that had one very special job: to wait and never move until morning came. Beside a small bed in a cozy little room sat a pair of soft worn slippers. They didn't sparkle, they didn't beep or bounce, but they were very good at one thing: waiting. Each night, when the child placed them carefully on the rug, the slippers stayed perfectly still. They didn't wiggle, they didn't wander, they just waited. All through the night, as the moon shone through the curtains, the slippers listened. They heard dreams being whispered. They felt little feet turn under the covers. They counted each breath, soft and slow. The left slipper liked to hum a quiet tune in its mind. "Sleepy feet, don't worry, I'm near." The right slipper liked to imagine what the child might dream of next. Flying elephants? Ticklish stars? A picnic on a cloud? And when morning came, just as the first yawn filled the room, the slippers would perk up inside, ready to be worn again. They didn't mind the wait. They didn't mind the quiet, because being there, right where they were needed, was their favorite thing in the world. Tonight, before you fall asleep, peek down at your slippers or shoes. They may not speak, but they're waiting for you to sleep, to dream, and to walk into a brand new day. Sweet dreams, little traveler.